Okay, it's become a little bit of a tradition at this time of year for me to do a spooky Halloween themed special. And last year I think I was looking at Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bauhaus. The year before that it was Halloween by Susie and the Banshees. This year I'm looking at the song Spooky, which I will tell you some more about in just a moment. And Halloween or not, this is a great song to play. And in this video I'm going to be talking about how I translated the vocal melody to this one onto the guitar. And I'm also using this song as a platform for improvisation. It's got some great chords to solo over, and I'm going to be giving you some improvisation options. So no matter what your level of ability, there's going to be something you can do over this one. If you're more of a beginner, you can just use A minor pentatonic. If you're more of an advanced player, we're going to be getting into the Dorian mode and more kind of jazzy flavoured improvisation. But let me begin by playing through the track. So this one was originally a hit in 1967 for a band called Classics 4, but it's been much covered by all kinds of people. REM do a great version of this. They used to play this one quite a lot live. But my rendition today is based on the feel of the Dusty Springfield recording. And I think that's one of my favourites. I just really like the atmosphere and the vibe of that recording. It's got a great kind of bongos and tambourine feel with some lovely Wurlitzer piano. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about the chords to start with, and then I'll talk about how to play the vocal melody. Then we'll get into some soloing and improvisation. I'm playing this in the key of A minor. The Classics 4 version is in the key of F minor, so I might just whiz through what's going on in that version first of all. So the rhythm guitar part on that song goes something like this. So we're starting with the one chord, which is an F minor 7. I'm playing it like this, a bar at the 8th fret, and in terms of fret numbers we've got 8, 10, 8, 9 and 8, so F minor 7, that's the one chord. And then we're heading to the 4 chord, but it's a 4 major chord, which is setting up this kind of Dorian mode sound. I'm going to be talking more about that in just a moment. But the exact chord voicing I'm hearing is this, so it's kind of an A major, but there's a 6 in this. It's an A6 chord. I'm playing it like this, so fret 8, 7, 8, and then 6. So going between those chords. I do that several times. Then we've got I got a diminished chord in there as well. So this is a sharp 4 diminished chord. This is quite a common move. You hear it in a minor blues quite frequently, and you could play this in various ways, but I'm playing this kind of B diminished chord, so I'm just barring at the 7th fret. I've got frets 7, 8, 9, 7, 9, and then 7. So B diminished 7, I'm just playing the top strings really. And then we're back to the to turn it round, we've just got a 5 chord. It's a 5 minor chord, so just a C minor 7. So that's the classic 4 chords. The Dusty recording is in the key of A minor, as I said. Don't think there's any guitar on this recording, and all of the harmony is carried by the piano part, but you can play it on the guitar if you want to, so I would probably do that like this. And all of the basic harmony is the same as the classic 4 version, it's just transposed. So we've got the 1 chord is now A minor 7. Could play that on the top 4 strings, so fret 7, 9, 8 and 8. And D6 is going to be the 4 chord. You could just play that with a bar at the 7th fret. And then play the diminished chord like this, so fret 7, 8, 7 and 8, and then turning it round with an E minor 7. So over these chords I'm playing the vocal melody, and it's quite a simple melody. It falls nicely on the guitar, and it's all minor pentatonic based. I'm starting off like this. Quite easy to play. The challenge for me is to try and bring some of those vocal nuances that you can hear on the Dusty recording and bring those onto the guitar. And the way I'm attempting to do that is with some of these nice guitar-y devices like slides, hammer-ons and pull-offs, bending, vibrato, and also trying to be quite dynamic. So sometimes I'm digging in quite hard, other times I'm playing very softly. I'm beginning up here on this A note, 10th fret on the B string. And then I'm jumping down an octave to the 5th position. I'm playing all of that out of our familiar pattern 1 A minor pentatonic shape. And I quite like that position shift and that leap. It seems to work well with the vocal phrasing. I mean, there are other ways you could do this. You could try and play that all in one position, I suppose. Or maybe here. But for me it feels best doing it like this. And then, like last week actually, in the gaps between the phrases I'm just doing some comping, playing some chords. So for the A minor 7 I'm just using kind of a C triad, so frets 10, 9 and 8, going down to this D triad. The next phrase is very similar. And then we continue. It's all A minor pentatonic. I'm just bending this D sometimes up to a D sharp, so that gives you that blues scale note, that kind of flat fifth. The end of the first chorus just got the 5 chord there, an E minor 7. Then what I'm doing in the second chorus is just trying to thicken things up a little bit with some double stops. So I'm playing the melody more like this. So just double stops on the top 2 strings. And then double stops on strings 2 and 3. I think for the last line of the second chorus I'm playing it an octave lower, so that's how I'm choosing to play the melody. There are of course lots of possibilities here, so I would encourage you to experiment and maybe come up with your own interpretation. Let's talk about some of the improvisation options you've got playing over these chords then. And the first stop is going to be the good old A minor pentatonic scale. And this is going to work perfectly over these chords. We're in the key of A minor, even though we've got that major 4 chord, the A minor pentatonic scale is going to work perfectly throughout. And certainly if you're a beginner, this is going to be the best option. But even if you're an advanced player, the A minor pentatonic scale still might give you all that you need. And the important thing when you're soloing using something that can be seen as quite basic, like the A minor pentatonic scale, is to make sure you do the simple stuff really, really well. And you're going to be able to do that by having good phrasing, good strong ideas and good rhythm. That's the important stuff. Otherwise you're just going to be aimlessly noodling around the scale and no one's going to sound good when they do that. So I'm very big on this whole idea of having strong ideas. So it could just be something as simple as something like that is a strong statement. It's a clear statement. It's much better just to go like that than it is to go kind of random noodle about the scale, which doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't really say anything. So strong ideas, something like that, can be really, really effective. And then you can use that as a jumping off point, and then you can develop your phrases based on the rhythm of that first phrase, and you've got somewhere to go. So let me have a play. I'm just going to use the A minor pentatonic scale in this first position, and I want to focus on strong, clear phrases and just see how much mileage I can get out of this simple scale shape. Let's talk about the Dorian mode, and this might be a slightly more advanced way of improvising over this chord progression. Now, modes are something that I've not really talked about that much on my channel. I should probably do some proper modes lessons at some point. But guitarists love to talk about modes, and it's an area where people get pretty confused, I think. But I like to keep things simple when I'm talking about modes, when I'm playing using modes. It's just another scale, and the Dorian mode, it's just a type of A minor scale, and the difference between the Dorian mode and the natural minor scale is just one note. You've got a natural 6 instead of a minor 6. So the A Dorian mode, it's just a root note, second, flat third, fourth, fifth, major 6, and then flat 7. So it's that major 6 which is really the character and the characteristic note of the Dorian mode. Now, when might you use the Dorian mode? This is another thing that people get confused about. You can't just solo using the Dorian mode whenever you feel like it. You've got to have chords which will support that sound, so that harmonic backdrop has got to be right and it's got to suggest that Dorian flavour. And this chord progression certainly does that, and often a big signifier of that Dorian sound is where you've got that one minor chord that establishes the home chord as being a minor sound, but then it goes to the 4 chord instead of the minor 4 chord which you get in the natural minor scale. You've got the major 4 chord, and that major chord contains this F sharp note, which is the major 6. So it's that note there which gives you that Dorian flavour. It's built into the chord progression, so whenever you hear this kind of sound, it's a good opportunity to play some Dorian mode stuff, and it's very, very common. A lot of songs have got that kind of Dorian flavour. You've got that, what's that Santana song? Oye Como Va by Santana, the soloing section of Light My Fire by The Doors, other Dorian mode songs. I think Wicked Game by Chris Isaak, that's got a very Dorian flavoured chord progression. You know, lots of Lana Del Rey stuff has got that Dorian flavour to it. So it's all over the place, and once your ears are tuned into it, you'll be able to recognise it, and then you'll know when you've got your opportunity to use that Dorian sound. One good way of getting into this Dorian sound is just to think about your A minor pentatonic scale and add in a couple of extra notes. So as I said, this F sharp note is the signifier of that Dorian sound. That's the major 6. So you can just think about your A minor pentatonic shape, and we've got this F sharp note here, the 4th fret on the D string, and you've got that same note an octave higher at the 7th fret on the B string. So you can just solo using the minor pentatonic. Add in that extra note. And then if you want the full Dorian scale, you can add in one more note, which is the B note. This is going to be the 2nd. So you've got 3 places where you can play that note in this position. You've got the B note here, and then an octave higher, and then on the top string, and that gives you the full A Dorian mode. And you've got a choice when to play those extra colour notes. You can just think A minor pentatonic most of the time, but then just slide in those extra notes when you feel like it and when it sounds good. That, I think, would be a good way of getting into that Dorian mode sound. Now, another area where people get confused is the A Dorian mode shares its notes with the G major scale. So that's a useful thing, but it's also a potentially confusing thing. So if you know your G major scale, if you know your cage system, you might know your G major scale in a few different places on the neck. So you think, okay, A Dorian, I'm just going to play my G major scale, and away you go. And often that doesn't work. It often doesn't sound that good, and that's because people are thinking G major rather than A minor. So if you are going to solo using the G major scale in this kind of Dorian context, you don't really want to be thinking G major, you want to be thinking A Dorian. And ultimately I think it's better to learn the Dorian mode as a scale in its own right, rather than having to do this translation from the relative major scale. But as a starting point, you could play your G major scale. You just want to be emphasizing those A notes, so it sounds like A is the home note and you're playing the Dorian scale rather than the relative major scale. slightly more advanced approach you might like to take is playing the B minor pentatonic scale. And that might seem slightly counterintuitive, but if you think about it, the notes in the B minor pentatonic are found within the A Dorian mode and within the G major scale. So from that point of view, the note choice is valid. And what the B minor pentatonic scale gives you is that F sharp note. So it's got that pentatonic shape, but it's got that natural six sound. And this can sound really cool and a little bit more unexpected than just playing the A Dorian mode or A minor pentatonic scale. So there we go, have some fun, experiment. You've got A minor pentatonic, A blues scale, A Dorian mode, G major scale, however you want to think about it. B minor pentatonic is another option. Some other things that I was trying to think about in my introductory solo, I was trying to throw some open strings in there. So in the A Dorian mode, you've got all of the open strings available to you. So I quite like that idea of just occasionally having some random open strings. It kind of works quite nicely. Double stops as well, so you can thicken up things with double stops from the minor pentatonic scale or from the A Dorian mode. So lots of possibilities, and I'm not going to take you through my intro solo note for note. It was kind of quite a spontaneous thing, but I will tab all of that out for those of you who are interested in grabbing a few of those licks. The gear that I'm using in this video, I've got my Fender Telecaster going into a Fender Deluxe, and for my piece at the start of this video I wanted to build things, so I had three levels, if you like, of sound. So I started off on the neck pickup. I've got a bit of overdrive coming from a J Rocket Archer pedal. I've got a bit of delay coming from an MXR carbon copy, and that sounds like this. And for the next chorus I just switched to the bridge pickup, just to have a bit more cut and bite. So. And then for the solo I switched on my fuzz, and the fuzz I'm using today is my Jimi Hendrix series fuzz face. I don't know exactly what model this is, let me have a look. It's the BC108 Silicon JHF1 Jimi Hendrix fuzz face, if you want to know the details, and that sounds like this. Great sound coming from that pedal. So it's quite noisy, lots of hiss. It particularly sounds good going into the other overdrive pedal, I think. So I've got the fuzz face going into the J Rocket Archer, and yeah, that's a nice sound. There we have it. That's it for today. I'm going to transcribe and tab out everything that I played in my little rendition at the start of this video. That's going to be up on my Patreon page along with my backing track. Thanks a lot for watching. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time.